Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fiesta, a Latin Hispanic visibility panel here on Stream Queens Con Part 2. I'm joined by some fabulous individuals. We are going to be speaking on different topics today. We're going to try to keep the panel as fun and fiesta as possible. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and go around and introduce everybody. Let's gonna start off with Bobby.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Bobby. I'm on the platform as Hi Bobby. I'm a queer Latinx streamer. Marcel, what information would you like us to share? Do you want us to go?
Completely up to you if you want to share like where they can find you, your pronouns, what you play.
Cool. So I play Apex Legends, Dead by Daylight, some other community-focused games here on the platform. I am Mexican American, Chicano, and my pronouns are he, they. Yeah.
All right, thank you. We're gonna continue on with Elix.
Hi everyone, I'm Elix here on Twitch. I am Mexican American. My pronouns are she, they. I mostly play Dead by Daylight. I'm well known for playing Hag, #1 Hag in North America. I've been playing a lot of crab game recently because you can play with just so many people, and I have a villainous quality where I like to push people off ledges, so that really fulfills the void. And that's me.
Perfect. We're gonna continue on with Jupiter.
Hi everybody, my name is Jupiter Velvet. I'm a trans Latina Miami entertainer and streamer. I'm Cuban and Venezuelan, and I'm really happy to be here. Hi.
Perfect. Pass it on to London.
Hi everyone, it's me, Lennon Bradshaw. My first day in drag. I'm Twitch's first Black drag artist who's a partner on this platform, but I'm also Afro-Latina, so I'm half Black and half Dominican. So thanks for having me, Marisol.
Thank you. And we're going to finish it off with myself. I'm Marisol Lords. I am Peruvian. I mostly play Dead by Daylight. I do like to do horror story games every so often, but very rarely. So no one in the chat come at my neck. I also have recently, per London, gotten very into Fortnite, and I am addicted into first-person shooters, so I may do Apex eventually. Yay!
Oh. Hop off.
Okay. So we all mentioned our different backgrounds and where we're from. So I just kind of want to open it to the floor to whoever would like to comment if there is a certain part of your cultural identity that most people may not know, or something fun you would like to share about your cultural upbringing. And then I'll open to the floor whoever wants to begin and then go on from there.
I'm going to go to food because I think just being Mexican, and I think, Bobby, you can relate to this. We love food, just coming from Mexico. And so growing up, something that I thought was funny about our culture, and I didn't think it was funny at the time or weird, is I was raised we didn't use utensils. We used tortillas for everything. Just to scoop up whatever. We never used a fork, a spoon. So I remember we had just immigrated to this country, and I made this white friend. I went over to his house, and I asked his mom, "Tortillas? Tiene tortillas?" And she was just so confused. She's like, "No, a spoon and a fork." So I thought that was, at the time I thought it was normal, but then looking back now, I'm like, that's not normal. That's just a cultural thing.
Whoever would like to go next.
I'll go next. I'll piggyback off of that. Tortillas were very, very important in my household. We didn't have bread for anything. It was always tortillas for everything. Bread was like something that, okay, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but usually everything that we ate had tortillas with it.
That's literally me today.
And so, for example, something culturally, I guess that I'm missing out on today because I've had a very busy day. My family's together right now making tamales for the rest of the year. So every year we have a weekend that we get together and the whole family makes tamales. And we make I don't know, almost 200 of them, but we split them throughout the rest of the extended family. And then they're usually used for parties or for Christmas. And so today they're all down the street in my aunt's house making a bunch of tamales together.
Yeah, this time of year, right? It's all
Yeah.
the tamales, menudo, pozole.
Mhm.
And then what is it called, that holiday in January? Los Tres Magos or something? La Rosca?
Yes.
It's just eating. So if you want to start your diet and you're
You have to
Mexican
do it.
this time of year, it's impossible, babe. You can't do it. You have to wait till like
next year.
February or March.
Exactly.
London,
Jupiter,
Jupiter.
do you want Jupiter? You can
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, so I'm from Miami, which is already like I just feel so immersed in like Caribbean, Cuban, Venezuelan culture because like I mean Marisol, like a lot of people that like know Miami or have ever been to Miami or anything like that, like the 305. Like I just feel like I was born here. Spanish was my first language, but I still feel so close to like my roots and everything. Just getting to experience culturally what Miami has to offer.
So I'm weird. I'll always be weird. I actually am adopted, so my parents are gay, lesbian, white humans. But it's hard to explain. Like, I do have family that's Dominican, so like being adopted, I'm still in contact with them. So every summer, my parents would send me off to the Dominican Republic. So like every summer, it is a third world country, but it's fucking beautiful. Chicken and rice is what we eat. Not menudo, but just chicken and rice. And just like, you never get tired of it. It's always so good. So going to the Dominican Republic and then like learning culture and having parents who want you to understand what your culture and your background is amazing. I don't speak Spanish, but catch me knowing every word you say because I do understand Spanish. Ask Marisol. Marisol came to visit me one time. And they were talking to their mom, and I was literally just sitting there giggling because they're having a full conversation. Marcel was like, "Wait a second, do you know what we're talking about?" And I was like, "Yeah, girl, you're at my house on speaker. Like, of course I can hear what you're talking about." She's like, "Do you speak Spanish?" It's like, I don't speak it, but I understand it. So it's like, just growing up and being able to understand and being in the food industry. That's another story. We'll talk about that later. So,
Yeah. And then for me personally, like Jupiter said, we are Jupiter and I are from Miami originally, and growing up with the different cultures, I know for like celebrations in my house are open to not only like my family but like my mom's friends, so it's like a whole different cultural upbringing with trying different foods and trying different things into different styles of celebration. So a question for everyone is. Do we know the difference between Latinx, Latin, and Hispanic or Española? It's just a yes or no question.
I mean, I feel like Latinx, and I have to say Latinx because it offends a lot of people, at least where I'm from. To me, it doesn't offend me. I feel like it's just a gender neutral, or Latine, or Latinx, but a lot of people do take offense because they feel like the word was stolen, and Latino is supposed to encompass both genders. But then, I don't know, I support Latinx. With Hispanic, that one's tricky, so I'm not going to talk about that one, but I identify as both.
Okay. I'll just go down the line of what you identify and if we know the difference. I'll start with Bobby.
So the same. I feel that I have the same exact feelings as Elix. Hispanic is complicated word because that was also a word created recently in the last 50 years to refer to folks from Spanish-speaking countries and whatnot. But I am totally comfortable with Latinx or Latine. I believe that a lot of folks really do get upset at, the fact that we are changing or adding on to a language that's currently existing. But like any other language, all languages are always evolving and changing and have slang and new words introduced. And I really feel that people are holding on, grasping to straws when they say they're super offended by adding Latinx, and that's why we added Latine. So it flows a lot better. It's and it's more inviting for folks to use as well, opposed to Latinx. But I'm comfortable with both.
Could not agree with you more, Bobby.
Yeah.
Jupiter.
Yeah, me being a trans Latina person. I with Latinx, I identified as genderqueer for a while too, and Spanish is so frustrating because the gendered issue with it. It's just ridiculous how everything needs to be gendered. And I have this thing that I still do all the time. So Spanish was my first language, but I was born and raised here in the States. And sometimes, like when I'm talking to my parents or anyone in Spanish, like I will misgender myself because it's like muscle memory with Spanish, and I don't really like talk to my friends so like often in like Spanish and stuff. It's like not as often. It's really just at home with family, extended family. So it's interesting, and I identify as a white Latina. So I do think that there is some like nuances kind of between like the Latin Grammys, for example. I don't think that Spanish, like white European Spanish artists should be like nominated for like awards for like the Latin community. I think that is kind of like weird to me personally. So yeah.
Okay, can I ask something? Give us an example of someone you think would not, like you
La
would think
Rosalía.
was in
I was about to say.
La Rosalía.
That's the first one that came to my head too. Oh my
Same.
God.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's a bunch of people who like kind of take opportunity from the Latin community that aren't even like, that are just Hispanic, that are just like European, Spaniards. Like, maybe that's still Europe, baby. Like, come on.
T.
London.
I don't identify as Hispanic because it's just not being Latinx. I'm already a non-binary human, so it's just easier not to argue. Like just being non-binary as well, it's just like easier not to argue, and especially with like when people, like when my family talks to me in Spanish, it's just easier not to argue and explain. Like when I'm out of drag and they're like, "Oh, my son," and I'm like, "Hey, okay, we're just gonna move on. We're gonna deal with it, and we're just gonna, they're not gonna understand. There's a lot of tradition and there's a lot of backstory and history that they've made. So, dropping another bomb of already being queer and then having to be non-binary is not gonna gonna go over well. So we just don't deal with it and we just move on from it. So just like Jupiter said, like the gender terms are not always the greatest, but you don't talk back. I know, we all know you don't talk back to family with our cultures, so because it doesn't end well no matter where we are. So I just use Latinx.
Fair.
I personally feel like I have to like say something back to them just because like my parents are supportive, which is surprising for like Caribbean and like South American, like machismo, like that kind of like, I was really raised with that.
Yeah, the machismo's the worst, babe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the worst. But yeah, I do kind of have to like, because it is muscle memory. It's like kind of like the way I have to train myself to get used to gendering myself in Spanish and ending it with like a, the feminine a, or a. It's just like if I don't say something to my parents, they just don't realize it. It's like muscle memory. So I kind of have to say something, and it can get awkward, but they just get used to it. And yeah, I'm personally like, I don't like the slip ups. Like I'm like, and it's funny because I do it myself, but when my parents do it, I'm like, no, Mary, please.
With that, because we spoke about a little how terms are very gendered in the Spanish language, for instance. What do you think would be some fun and innovative ways to break hip? No, I'm kidding. To kind of like not, how do I phrase this? How to stop gendering or how to make things more plural, considering that the Spanish language has such a deep root in gender terms.
I think ending anything that is just has a forced gender, any word with a forced gender, end it with an E. Make it neutral. I'm starting to I'm starting to correct a lot of people, especially in Spanish and with my family, who already, finding out that I was queer was, like London said, it was like a huge bomb. And so to let them know, I don't identify in either gender. I'm just a queer person. Can you, end this word with an E? Hermane. Llámame hermane. No soy hermano, no soy hermana. Soy hermane, por favor. Just ending anything that is specific to a gender with an E. And I think that solves a lot.
Anyone add to that?
Well, I'll add on to say that I agree, definitely. I personally don't speak a lot of Spanish. I do understand a lot of it, not a ton. My family was very much forced to assimilate when they were here in LA, and they had immigrated. The language pretty much stopped at, speaking Spanish pretty much stopped at like my grandma and grandpa, who are one is gone and the other, just speaks English. But what in regards to like if we are out and about and we hear certain, like if someone refers to me or someone refers to a friend, it is easy to correct and say if in a public setting someone asks, "Are you Latino?" I'd say I'm Latinx or Latine, and usually they ask like, "What do you mean?" and you just simply explain. Some get confused, but if they're willing to listen, they'll learn. But it's always just about continuing to not necessarily correct people, but to educate, because people get really offended when you correct them on certain things as if they're doing it wrong. But say, no, like try this way. Why? Because this is more inclusive and it hurts less people. So that's what I like to see.
And then with anyone that's, Latino, Latina, Latinx, Hispanic, there is so much pride and stubbornness. So piggybacking off of that, like they take it as an offense that you're correcting them. It's, they'll assume that you're making them look stupid or, that they don't know or they're ignorant. And that's not the case at all. That is not the case at all. But because we come from this culture or in this background, a lot of people have a lot of pride and they're very thick-headed. And so it's really, like walking around minds and really making them or influencing them to think, this is new. This is, something I want you to understand, instead of, it's very difficult to not make it sound like you're talking down to someone. Especially people within our culture, within our families, and our circles.
A lovely intersection. I do want to remind everybody at home that is watching, we do have a Q&A little button within the Channel Point Redemption. Feel free to ask your questions. The moderators will go ahead and DM them to me via Discord, and we may or may not touch on it depending on time and or interest. Moving on, kind of going into kind of like a media segue. Growing up, did you, and I asked this last year, did you see a lot of representation on yourself, whether that be your personal identity, your ethnic identity, and if so, who were they, or if not, if you found them later on in life, how did you go about finding them? And I will start kind of backwards, so I'll begin with London on this one.
Again,
it can be
I think
anyone.
it's already troubling enough to have to like explain to people that I'm adopted and like the backstory of why I know that I'm half Black, half Dominican anyways. So like being on this panel, I was really honored, but it's also just like, to me, it's struggling. And I did it because Bobby actually was selected to be, Bobby and Elix were selected this year to be representatives in Hispanic Heritage History Month. And the conversation came up in Bobby's chat where it's like, be proud of who you are. And I'm like, well, most people don't know, but I'm half Latinx. And someone else identified in that chat as well, because this is like hard to explain. And I didn't feel like people really included me into things. I think it took for Twitch to realize that there are other Dominicans. There's a lot of, I already had, being half Black, I already had a hard time finding like other Black streamers. But one of my community members named Average Freddy, they're Dominican as well. So I get really excited when I see other Dominicans on Twitch and on Twitter, and I just like having good conversations. So that's like the media that I think I consider finding out later, because again, growing up, it's like I was already like, my parents are white, and people in my community don't understand of like, and like I'm also like, I think I'm part Haitian too, and being like Dominican and Haitian is like a huge no-no because those countries don't really get along as well. They're both third world countries, but like telling people that as well is like really bad, because it's like the equivalent of being like a mudblood in Harry Potter. So, and then Afro Latinos like just don't get recognized as usually, because either we're if we don't speak Spanish, we're not good enough for the culture, or at least that's how I experienced it growing up. So I'm not saying that's everybody's experience, but that's personally my experience, you know. So, uh, like when people go out to eat when I was a server and they'd be speaking a different language, I'd be like, well, actually, the soup is $9.99 today during lunch. And they're like, oh, tu hablas español? I was like, yes, yeah. And they're like, oh. Okay, Ling. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Here it is. And I'm like, yeah. And then that's where like Jupiter says like the gender terms come in, because then it's just like now they know and now they think, it's a long story, but I think Twitch was my media platform outlet that made me realize that it was okay to be proud of who you are and finding others in your community as well. Sorry for the long tangent rant.
No, you're good. If anything, London, you're my role model. Thank you for being here. And everybody in chat, if London's your role model, get some taco hikes in.
Not that.
Yes, I'm going to move it on to Jupiter. Jupiter, did you have any role models growing up? Did you find them later in life? And how did they inspire you?
Yeah, so growing up, I'm a first generation American as well. So I felt this need to like assimilate being first generation. There's like so much pressure from like your family and then from like society around you, where you just want to like conform and kind of like assimilate to American culture, really. So I kind of repressed like my love for like salsa or my love for like Spanish divas or Celia Cruz, La Lupe. My grandma's half Colombian as well. So like Shakira, these kinds of artists, like I really didn't like celebrate them, or I did in private at least. And my dad was a DJ growing up, so I was at parties all the time listening to salsa. And my dad was a choreographer in Cuba, and like for like montando quinces, like dancing for the balls of like quinceañeras. So yeah, just now I get to like celebrate those things and perform and like do these kinds of like Spanish diva classic songs, and I love celebrating that. So those are my like role models and icons.
Oh gosh, music's always been in my blood. Like literally now, I always have a tune in my head. It's weird, but for me, it was I listened to a lot of Spanish Mexican music. I loved Shakira, Rocío Dúrcal, Veronica Cruz when she had like her little stunt in music, even though she's known for acting. I looked up to them, and it was always female singers. I can never really relate to, I don't know why, male singers. I loved the female empowerment, and it was through voice. And so I looked up to those people as role models, but also, being little and very ignorant, also my soap operas, my telenovelas, I say, raised me, and they really helped me, keep my correct enunciation, my dialect when I spoke in Spanish. And I looked up to a lot of these stories, which were, they're like Disney movies. It's not real life. It is not true. You're not going to have that happy ending, and you have to work for everything yourself. No rich man is going to come and pick you up, and make you rich. And then you never have to work a day in your life again. That's just not going to happen. It doesn't work like that. And so then getting older, I've always known I was different. I've always known that I was not like a boy. I was always a very feminine person. And so when you come from this background of machismo, you're first generation, you immigrate to this country, you get this a lot, before you even know what femininity, effeminacy, or masculinity is, and you're just yourself. Like I was 4 or 5 years old. I don't know what the fuck any of that means. So you have the people you love the most making you feel ashamed of behaving a certain way. Like, why do you speak like that? Why do you have a lisp? Why do you, sway your hips when you're walking? Why is your wrist like this? What's going on? And you don't know what the fuck is going on. You're just like, that's just who I am. That's how God made me. That's how the universe made me, And so at such an innocent age, you're just so pure, and people initiate this shame into you. They condition you to be a certain way. So fast forward to now, when I'm probably in my mid-20s, and I start really embracing who I am, really embracing my effeminacy. And I start looking up dance videos from Naomi, who is just this icon and embraces who she is, this trans woman, trailblazer, ceiling shatterer. And this is a woman I just looked up to because she is just like an underground Vogue icon. I will say she just talking about her gives me goosebumps, and she really helped me embrace my effimacy when I was so ashamed of it because of the way I was brought up. And so that was one of my role models, you know, growing up and really embracing my queerness.
Bobby.
I love that Elix so much. I would say growing up, I didn't really see a ton of representation or role models as far as, you know, Mexican American or Chicano, Chicanx, any of that sort. The only thing I did really see a lot of was Mexican American families on like television, like George Lopez show and all these other like I forgot. I think it was like Raising Tucson or something like that. It's like a story of a family in Arizona, but I was like grasping at straws to see families like mine, and these families on TV were like mine. You know, a Mexican family living an American life, speaking Spanglish or having a heavy accent with certain words, like shower. When you want to take a shower, like the CH comes out and stuff like that.
Please.
And my mom still does it till this day. And I just look at her and I'm like, I love it. It's just so silly. And it's not anything like that is negative. It's something that we adore and our parents adore and our families and stuff. But we do see that as like jokes online for people to make fun of. But knowing that it like that's the only way we can see. Well, I got to see myself and my family represented on TV and in the media, beyond like Selena, the movie, and whatnot, like, or Cheech and Chong. When I was little, I watched that movie with my family. But it's comedy. These are like super, you know, like exaggerated versions of ourselves represented and made fun of in a way. But knowing that, you know, I got to be a part of, you know, the Hispanic Heritage Month here on Twitch this year, we had really great conversations in my streams, like, you know, London had said, you know, that they were Hispanic and whatnot. And it did create a conversation within my own chat to, you know, help everyone identify. And because I had those conversations, other people got to see and experience that there's more than just me. There's other people in these chats in the same spaces that share these experiences with each other. And like after I had my stream that day, I got like a lot of messages saying like, thank you for the conversations, thank you for like letting people tell their stories and their experiences and whatnot. And that's what made it the most like important experience for me this year. Yeah.
I wanted to say, by the way, I didn't say who my role model is, and I know it sounds really silly, but Daddy Yankee and Pitbull, because I love reggae, are like really like what I grew up with listening to. Gasolina, I was like, you know, I'm just like dancing in my living room. That's the shit that made me gay. Like,
not Daddy Yankee made me gay. Raise your hand if Daddy Yankee made you gay.
But I do love reggae. So.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about also the movie industry and just, you know, shows in general. I think it's Alan Ball who did 6 Feet Under, who created one of the most groundbreaking ceiling shattering shows, Six Feet Under. It had just, you know, had gay people, it had just queer people in general, straight people, but also so many people from different backgrounds, Hispanic people. And there was this Hispanic couple in this show, and I'm just like, oh my God, I don't see this a lot. And then also just movies, like the guy from Machete, he's made a lot of movies. And what's the vampire one with Quentin Tarantino in it? And George Clooney and Juliette Lewis, I can't think of the name. Until Dawn with Salma Hayek with a snake.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to be here. And so it was
So
when I would
good.
see stuff like that on TV, I would be so proud of who I am, and I would just look up to not only the actors, but I want to know who made this movie, who approved this movie, because growing up here in the United States, everything was white. I mean, let's talk about Friends. Come on now, it's all white people.
Let's not talk
Can we
about
see
Friends.
some color? Can we see some flavor?
Very that. Next no, okay. Kind of moving into more of like celebrating our cultures. What are some things that you and your family may do to celebrate your heritage or celebrate certain seasons or birthdays or other things? I'm gonna go right in the middle and start with Bobby because they're in the middle of us.
Okay. As far as holidays go, because Christmas is right here, right around the corner, um, we like I've always like to celebrate our culture and whatnot. I've always ever known that we open our presents on Christmas Eve, not on Christmas Day, and we get together. We make a ton of food, and it's always been Mexican food. And it's always celebrating with family, celebrating the year that we've had. And it's an interesting thing to see like how kind of Americanized our traditions have gotten over the years. But Christmas is one of them that has really never changed. And Christmas Day is when we just stay home, vibe and chill, and just play with our presents and our gifts. As far as that goes, my culture is really ingrained in the Catholic Church. So growing up, it wasn't so much that we went to church at all, because being Mexican American and being Catholic, you either go all the time or you go once a year. So we were the family that only went once a year, and usually it was like for Easter or something like that. But it was my family and our culture was really centered around food. And so every holiday, everything that we celebrated was around food, whether it be like capirotada or like for Easter, which is like bread pudding. And yeah, we beyond just the holidays that are religious, we really don't get into culture, celebrating that much culture. Like just recently, over the past, I would say 5 or 6 years, we started really leaning into Dia de los Muertos, and that's because my nephew, when he was he was like 5, so he identified a lot more with the movie Coco at the time. And so we were like, you know what, we know how to celebrate this, we know how to, we know this culture, but let's lean into this a lot more, because a lot of close people to us have passed away, and we could start to revive this part of our culture within ourselves and what we know before, to bring this back for my nephew, who was like the youngest one in the family. So yeah, that's it for me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it for me.
It's like, no, I'm kidding. Let me just go down the line. And Elix, anything to add?
So not so much more now, but when I lived with my parents and just growing up, we would always spend, the holidays with our family. We'd go to, I'm from Mexicali, Baja California, which is right across the border of Southern California, right next to Tijuana, which is still Mexico. A lot of people think it's not Mexico, and it is. And so we would just spend, the holidays with my grandparents at the time, rest in peace. And we would all just, the whole family. And so my grandmothers, both of them, they had like 15 kids each. So I have so many cousins. We'd all get together in the house. Everyone would be cooking, people would be singing, because I come from a musical family. And it was mostly fall. It was also Christmas. Christmas was probably the best holiday, at least, from my heritage, that we would really celebrate. And then we would all cook together. We would all make tamales together. And so I really, really miss that. It's probably when I moved to Vegas almost 8 years ago that I kind of stopped doing that. I need to go back to Mexico, but that is just a way we would keep our traditions alive. It's especially something that we were just so proud of within our culture and heritage. Another thing that I still try to do is that every New Year, las 12 uvas, the 12 grapes. But I think that's more of a Spaniard thing. I don't know, but I don't know. My mom taught me that growing up. You gotta eat your 12 uvas, your 12 grapes, one for each month of the new year, or you're gonna have bad luck. You're gonna have no money. You're gonna be poor. You're gonna have, everything's gonna go bad for you. Everything's gonna go sour. So you gotta eat the moment the clock hits, the new year. You gotta eat your grapes, and then you have to drink your champagne. And so that's something I still do. That still, makes me feel not so guilty that I don't celebrate it with my family in Mexico, because 95% of my family still lives in Mexico. And so I try to do that. And then I get on Facebook, because I think Facebook is also a great, platform, because everyone in your family is on Facebook. And so, we'll FaceTime, or we'll do a little video chat on Messenger, and we'll have our 12 grapes just to keep some of, the holidays alive.
I'm gonna go down to Jupiter.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the 12 grapes. My family, we do them from the last 12 seconds. So for the last 12 seconds, we're like choking on grapes every second.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
horrible. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And then at midnight, we take a bucket of water and then you throw it out the door.
Oh, I don't know that one,
Malo
but I want to do
espiritu,
that.
like, yeah, it's to get rid of like the bad juju in the house. Like it's for that. But yeah, just growing up, I mean, I still celebrate Noche Buena with my family, and also Virgen de la Caridad, which is like the basically the patron saint of like Cuba, because like a lot of Caribbeans and South Americans also, I mean, the Spanish influence, like they're Catholic. Like I grew up really in the Catholic Church, like volunteering there, like repressing things, like a lot of things like that. But yeah, just drinking coquito for the holidays. The cajachina, which is where you made the giant pork in that big box that you put like coal in. It's like a barbecue. Do you guys know that?
I think I do. I think I've been to a Cuban Thanksgiving before.
They call it cajachina, which I don't know if it's like an Asian tradition also, but this is the
Wait,
name
what
that
is
people
it?
give it.
Cajachina.
It's like a big wooden box, right? And then it has like coal, and you put the entire pig sprawled out like in bondage. Not really, but like it looks
That
like
sounds delicious.
It's like
Is it the one that you
Like-
like rotate through the fire?
no, that's like a rotisserie.
Not the rotisserie chicken.
Marisol said Costco rotisserie chicken.
Yeah.
That's how we celebrated my house.
Yeah, nobody knows what I'm talking about. Okay, well, but also lechon, flan, just all of that, just definitely getting plastered, drinking beer. Yeah, that's very like Caribbean and South American.
Lyndon, did you have anything you would like to share with the call?
I mean, Jupiter said welcome to Dragula, 12 grapes in 12 seconds, 4 years of termination. I was like, you better get it, bestie. Again, growing up, I think I was just more thankful that my white parents who adopted me let me still stay in contact with my family, in the state of where I live, which I'm not going to say here on the internet anymore. It's the legal terms of like adoption and foster care are very serious, and you can't just go live with family. So, especially if they don't live in this country. So, I was fortunate enough to like spend every summer there. I do remember my aunts and uncles kind of getting a little wild on New Year's and running through the house with incense and like praising everything, the doors, the bathrooms, the floors, and making sure all the bad juju was out of the house. I found out that same year I had asthma, so I just kind of stood outside. So apparently now that I'm queer, I was bad juju because I didn't stand in the house getting, cleanse the house down boots. But I think that's like the only memory that I have in traditions of senses and stuff like that. But
I love it. I love that everybody has kind of like things that are very similar to one another and a completely different, as Jupiter's food store. I just very briefly want to touch up on a subject that's not necessarily been brought up, but it's definitely something that we can discuss and kind of advocate for, was not revealing where you are in the world. And it kind of touches up based on something that's currently happening within the gaming community, especially within the queer community, called doxing and swatting. What it is your personal information gets shared online with the intent of harming said person, and sometimes things follow through and sometimes they don't. But I kind of wanted to open up to the panel to what are your thoughts on what is currently happening with the gaming community and the queer community especially, and what are ways that we can prevent something like this happening, just to keep everybody safe. And this is an open, whoever would like to start, if you would like to.
You mind if I go first?
Yeah.
I know that it hasn't, happened to me yet. I think I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was proud of where I'm from. And if anybody in chat knows where I'm from, please do not say it. But I think being half Black, half Latin X, I'm afraid of getting killed because I feel like it's an on-site situation. I feel like our personal police department is like one of the most racist because we've had the most people going to the Capitol during the Capitol situation. So I feel like if this would happen to me, it would be an on-site assassination. And I'm not being like, oh, let's be kind about it. I'm being like dead ass serious. Of like, I feel for anybody who's had it, and I know there are other stories, which is why I wanted to like get mine out of the way because the other ones are a little more um, serious because it's happened to them. But I would hope that it doesn't happen to me because people have died from swatting, and I'm grateful for the siblings that we have that are here, even though it's happened to them. But it's a serious fucking situation. So, like, if you know where any of us live or you know about where we live, it's like, don't say anything in chats anymore and don't talk about them, our living situations at all. I just want to make that very clear for everybody.
Thank you, London. If anyone would like to add on to it or continue the conversation.
Yeah, I kind of get to this place where I just feel like it's pretty inescapable being like a trans Latina. Like, there's always like a target on my back, I feel. And also, I can't really, like, before doing Stream Queens, I was a local drag artist that would like do shows in different cities and stuff. So like promoters needed to know where I was from. And there's also like press out there. Like I was on the cover of the Miami New Times. Like, you just look up my name. I can't hide from this. Like, so there's no point. Like, you just look it up. So it's hard to like kind of protect yourself. A lot of people say to use like a service like Removerly and like wipe your information from the internet. And it's like which is true, y'all should do that if you haven't already been found. But once you've already been found and you're like in these people's database of like who to mess with, it just feels hopeless. Like, I kind of had to completely stop streaming and resort to basically, can I say S3X work? Well, that's what I'm doing now, essentially, because I couldn't stream anymore, and I'm not gonna go work at like my area is just really like conservative, and like Latinos can be really transphobic and stuff. So being able to like be self-employed is what I loved about drag, and also Twitch during the pandemic. But now not being able to do it right now is like frustrating. But I mean, I have an attorney. I'm working on it, so I'll be back to it. But yeah, those are my personal feelings. It's really fucking scary. I've been swatted. I know people on this panel have experiences too, so I'll just pass it on.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, back in 2018, I did have someone that doxed me from YouTube, and they were cyber stalking me at work. They were stalking me at home. They were sending food to me every hour. And so we had the moment they messed. I worked at Tesla at the time. The moment they messed with me at work is when they made the mistake, because the moment something happens to you at work, the job's liable. So, legal at Tesla got involved. We had a detective assigned to our case. They found the guy. Something that was extremely frustrating is how these platforms, I'm sure Twitch is probably the same, Facebook, and I'm only talking about YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch because they're the leading streaming websites right now, Twitch being number one. They will make, the police department jump through, they're going to jump through loops like circus poodles. They have to get a DA to approve it, to get a subpoena, to just get the IP or any information off of a username that might have told you, hey, I'm going to kill you. Hey, I'm going to swat you. Just to do that, they need to get a subpoena. And I wish that social media platforms or live streaming platforms would work with police departments and release that information without having them to, do all this other work, because no DA with the right mind is going to approve that unless it's an A-list celebrity or someone was killed. And so it shouldn't have to come to that. With my experience, it didn't happen in 2018 and it stopped. And it was from a YouTube live streamer that was doing this. Twitch did nothing to help me in any way, shape, or form at the time. Twitch has helped me now. I can't speak of it, but they have helped me in a certain way, and they have offered services, which I really appreciate. But at the end of the day, the moment you're swatted, they can't do anything about it. I don't believe it is Twitch's fault unless it's Twitch releasing information, personal information of people, which that is not the case right now. Twitch is not releasing your legal name. Twitch is not releasing your address. This can happen to you on any platform, and it's dependent on what information you have out there. So you just want to be careful that you don't have, so a mistake I made is I had an Instagram that I had on not my like severe personal information, but people knew where where I'm from, my family members, because I started my Instagram a long time ago before I ever knew I was going to be a content creator. And so then I became a content creator, and instead of creating a new Instagram, I kept that one. And so people can just go to the old posts, see legal names of my family members, and do harm. So fast forward to now, I was swatted and doxxed again about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Thankfully, I already had a police report from 2018 of the doxing and the stalking that I went through. And so now the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, I will say, did suffer some bit of incompetence, because if they knew that I had already filed a police report stating I may be swatted, they wouldn't have brought the whole circus here. They would have brought maybe 2 cops at most. But one of the things they asked me when they had guns pointed at me was, have you reported an incident like this before? And I said, well, I was doxxed and I was stalked by someone online before. And I did state in my police report I may be swatted. And so they all looked dumbfounded when I said that. They all called the sheriff, and I guess they had a conversation with the person who told them they didn't find my police report, because at the end of the day, they found it. And so they updated my police report. And another thing I was frustrated about is I wanted a copy of my police report, and they charge you $11 here if you want a copy of your police report, even if they update it. But long story short, what I wish live streaming platforms would do is not make police departments go through so much to get information about accounts that even the people who monitor these usernames, I don't know what branch of these live streaming platforms do this, if it's security, whatever branch, whatever department does this, don't make these police departments go through a subpoena or whatever, climb out, whatever. Just give them the information. If you know you have a username stating, death threats or swatting or doxing, give them that information, especially when a police report has been filed. And another thing, have a basic resource page. I think a lot of these live streaming websites stray from that, and it's because they don't want to have any accountability or the perception of accountability that it's their fault. It's not your fault I was swatted, Twitch. It's not your fault I was swatted, YouTube. But have a resource page. What if I'm a new, streamer and I want to know, hey, Twitch support, is there a page where I can see how I can keep my personal information private? What's a VPN? If they have a resource page, I know it exists on Google if you Google it, but it would be great for Twitch to have this, or a resource page. Hey, I've been doxxed. What's the next step? Hey, I've been swatted. What's the next step? Give us a list of resources. I think that would be super helpful. But yeah, no one should have to go through the trauma of being swatted. Thankfully, I still have the same detective from 2018 on the case. I have a cop outside of my house right now because I demanded one. And I also called dispatch. And another thing, long story short, I know this is getting so long, but if you've ever been threatened that you're going to be swatted, or if you're just part of a team, like right now, Stream Queens is being heavily targeted. People involved in this convention are being heavily targeted with swatting. The best thing you can do is call your police department. Some of us can file a report online and let them know, I may be swatted. This is what I do. I stream online. This is, my information, just so you know. Now, do keep in mind that legally the police has to show up. Even if it's your first, second, third, fourth time being swatted, they have to show up. But the second, third, fourth time won't be the whole freaking circus unless your police department is obliviously incompetent. But yeah, that's all I can say, to keep yourself safe. Use a VPN. I never used a VPN until recently. Use a VPN. Don't share too much of where you live. And don't use your old social media platforms before you became a content creator. Create new ones for that, because people can just stalk you from the likes. If your mom uses her legal name on Facebook and your Facebook is public, or Instagram or Twitter, they're going to look at the likes. They're going to see everyone that liked that post, and they're going to look at all the legal names there, and they're going to start harassing you and your family. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna shut up now. And that's all the information I have.
I really appreciate it. That was excellent advice. Bobby, did you have any advice or any thoughts?
I completely, agree with everything that's been said here. You definitely need to protect yourself and look at little things that might link you or might, circle back to some extra information that you don't want being shared. One of them being that, recently one of the members of Team Technicolor was swatted and doxxed. And they did call the police station and they did nothing. The next morning, they were swatted. And I believe they let the person know when they got there, like, I called about this yesterday and let you know that this might be a thing that happened. So I think that things need to change for police departments as well, and we need to know more about how to protect ourselves. And I think that the streaming platform should have those resources, like Elix said, and it's very important. And right now, we are all relying on our communities to help and support and learn how to protect each other. One of the things that I do know that we did the day of was a lot of us in the Team Technicolor, we went in a call and like we changed all of our donation links, all of the pages that we use, like for PayPal and whatnot. Remove your legal name, remove your address, switch it to a business account, and so it's very like you're donating to your content creation name. You're donating to that name, not revealing any other information. And I think that, you know, sites hold a lot of information. If you can remove like stuff that isn't necessary, definitely do it, or find another way to be very vague on those platforms. And PayPal asks for a lot of, you know, private information and does share a lot of private information. I remember I donated to, I believe it was Rat Emoji, and Rat's like, I have your address, but I'm not, like, he's not going to do it. They're not going to do anything about it. But like, I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that they shared that. You know, even if I donate to somebody, that stuff is being revealed. So make sure you do go into PayPal or places that you do receive donations from and change that information or update it or change it to a business account, because you are a content creator, you are self-employed to an extent. So make sure you protect yourself in that way as well.
Thank you.
Marisol, what about you? I know that you're not.
No.
Nope. Yeah, bitch. If you want to talk about it, I'm gonna throw the question back at you, bestie.
Yeah. So I was actually doxxed and swatted Wednesday, this past Wednesday. It was a very scary experience. I did keep my calm through it all, just because this story that had been shared with the police was ridiculous, and I found it more funny than I did threatening. After it happened, I went ahead and followed all of Elix's advice, and I filed a police report. I let them know that this may happen again, especially considering that this panel was happening today. What I've also done previously in the past, when seeing others dox it, is I Googled myself. I went ahead and tried to remove as much information as possible. I'm not really sure how they found me. But they can still find you. And with that being said, like, if you are streaming, I would turn on two-factor authentication in any single platform that you use. I would also, currently you're able to have email and phone number verification when protected on Twitch. So I have both of them. Like, you have to have your email verified and you have to have your phone number verified to be able to even speak to me. So I've done those things, and from now on, well, I'm lucky enough that my city is lucky and not lucky that I knew of the police officer, that I knew some of them that came from that initial swatting, and I made it very clear, I'm like, this will happen again, and if you see something, like, you know, like, give me a call first. I'm more than happy to cooperate. I just need the heads up, because I don't want to make a scene, but I will make a scene online, because there should, like everyone has mentioned, there should be more resources for something like this not to happen.
Yeah. When I reached out to the police department, and I know this is like the most upsetting thing, is when I reached out to them, and because our city has like an anti-SWAT form that you can turn in.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to turn one of those in, and I was probably one of the leaders of like protests during the Black Lives Matter movement.
Mm-hmm.
And when I turned one of those in, they're like, "Oh, now you want our help?" And I was like, wait a second, you can't react like that, but go off, pop off, sis. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I just bought a VPN. With the recommendation of Elix, and I stream with the VPN now. So
Good.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know in regards to VPN, and please shut me up because we have about 5 minutes left, and if we're opening the floor for anything else, I'll shut up. But
Yeah.
with VPNs, most of the time, and it's heavily dependent on your internet service provider, the IP only reveals your city, the city you're from. But if they are able, depending on your internet service provider, and how, you know, they're encrypted with security, people can find a lot more than just your city. They can get really personal information, your legal name, whoever owns the internet connection, the address, the billing information. So we have to be careful about that too. And we are in a time in this world where it is impossible to be private. You buy a house, if it's under your name, guess what? Your address, if someone knows your legal name, they're going to look you up. They're going to know exactly where you live. You file your taxes in certain states. This is public information. You work for a nonprofit, your legal name is going to be out there and how much you make a year. It's so ridiculous. It's nearly impossible to stay private. And for those of you who have the luxury to stay private because you have the money and the income to do so, more blessings to you. But I'm not there yet. It's just so ridiculous that filing your taxes alone can reveal where you live. And so that sucks to me. But be safe out there, my loves, and stay calm, as infuriating as it is.
Yeah, definitely the staying calm is the one thing, because like what happened with me is that I went upstairs and I obviously had like guns pointing at me, but it was right after one of the panels. Therefore, I was still in drag, and one of the officers was like, "Teach me how to do eyeliner," and I laughed in her face. I said, "This is not the summer place, bitch. Like, what the fuck?" But overall, I would say stay safe out there. Know how to protect yourself. And then moving the conversation to a little bit light topic to just kind of end us off. We're gonna say fuck the next panel. We're gonna continue. No, I'm kidding. I'm gonna open the floor to our panelists, or if we have any questions in the chat. If there's something that you would like to talk about culturally, within your own heritage or within others that you've seen that you would like to kind of talk about, or something that we may not have touched on during this panel. I open the floor.
I will say, I wanted to say some things really quickly, and I want to say I'm speaking only for myself. I'm not reflecting the views of Stream Queens or anyone else on this panel, but I do feel like Twitch should be more accountable for what happened. I think that trans tag was released right during Pride Month, which is just really convenient for like the social brownie points that they get from doing something like that, but having no follow through to actually protect trans creators like myself. Like there's no like safety team, there was no resources. I went through all this shit alone. I'm paying all this money out of pocket for this attorney. Like it's just like, it really is fucking awful. And like Twitch support never even got back to me. Like I filed a claim, like I'm not partnered, I'm not certain people. Like certain people just don't get that same respect, and it's it really sucks because they're going after marginalized creators, and a lot of marginalized creators for the most part like are not even going public with this. Like they're so small, they're going after really small creators too that like have no one to turn to. They have very few views, they have very few like mods or anything, and they're just like they just get off the platform entirely. And I do feel like damn, like I literally stopped streaming. I stopped fucking working and doing what I did because of what happened, and because my, like what Lyndon said, like my local like police department doesn't have any registry, anti-swatting registry, so we have to kind of create one, and like I'm trying to like get all this stuff together, and it just sucks that there was no resources sent to me. Like nothing was, Twitch never reached out to me like ever. So yeah, it just fucking sucks to feel alone, but I'm glad to have like people to turn to in my community that have really helped me, my team, other friends and partners. Like means a lot. But yeah, I really think that we can ask more of Twitch. We should ask more of all these platforms that essentially like are able to use our marginalized bodies and our expression as currency when it's blank month, but never fucking follow through in protecting us when it's not, or even when it is. Like nothing. Like as soon as trans tag went live, like the vitriol and hate that I was going through, the transphobia, it was really scary. It's still really scary. Like I just don't. It's frustrating. And yeah, if you're listening, my Venmo's Jupiter Velvet, Twitch. Get into it.
Get your money. Get your coin. Support Jupiter on other platforms as well. Support all of the panelists on their individual platforms. Figure a way to help us financially, because also streaming is hard. It's a gamble. It's a gamble with your life.
Bare minimum, offer us free therapy. Offer us someone so we can talk about our trauma at least.
Yeah.
Like, offer us the minimum, because it
pay
did
the
happen
$11.
on your platform.
Pay the $11 for the police report.
Because at the end of the day, also piggybacking off of what Jupiter said, these cockroaches are using the tools Twitch has set to find us. Although it is an optional tool that we can use, that is what they're using to find us. But I'm Elix. You can find me anywhere, Elix TTV.
Yes,
Segue, bitch.
I have a big shout out for Vogue because the month of November, I
Yes!
had to relive my trauma a lot. Everyone was celebrating my trauma the month of November, which I didn't mind. And we have to think there's silver lining in everything. And I had to just be as loud as possible for people to know this is still happening. And Stream Queens is being targeted, and no one's fucking speaking about that. No one. Why am I the first to speak about this? That Stream Queens is being targeted right now specifically, and then everyone else started talking about it, which I loved, and that's what I wanted to do. And I wanted more press. But at the end of the day, my trauma is being celebrated. I want to be celebrated for who I am. You know, a first-generation Mexican American who is shattering ceilings here on a live streaming platform, and that's why I have the big shout out to Vogue because they came through that month, and that was the only interview I did where people weren't having me relive my experience. So thank you, Vogue. And again, you guys can find me anywhere. Elix TTV on YouTube, Elix TTV on Insta. Because I have a new Insta. I closed my other one because it had personal stuff on it.
Yes, keep yourself safe. We're gonna go down the line and continue our closing out statements. This includes where they can find you safely, as well as any big upcoming projects or anything you would like to mention. And I'll go ahead and continue with Jupiter.
Hi, yeah. So you can find me everywhere at Jupiter Velvet. And I also have an alt Twitter, which you could find on my main Twitter, if you know what I mean. Get into it.
Yeah, you can say
And-
sex work. Sex work is
Oh
not.
yeah. I have an OnlyFriends account. It's Jupiter Hub, and yeah, support the doll. Cash App, Venmo, Jupiter Velvet. Get into it. Support a trans person.
As you should. London.
Hi, it's me, my first day in drag, the thin-lipped legend, London Bradshaw. I just wanted to say thank you to Marisol and everybody else on this panel for accepting me for who I am, because I don't get to talk about I'm always known for the outspoken Black girl, but I am part Dominican, so that's important to me too.
It was a beautiful surprise. I had no idea, London. It's a beautiful, gorgeous surprise.
Thank
and
you,
now I
thank you.
see it. Now I
Hello.
can see it.
Thank you. And so I was really excited to do this. I had to talk through my anxiety to do this. I had a panic attack last night and almost backed out, but I'm here. Speaking of panic attacks and mental health, my biggest project that I'm doing another one-woman show that talks about my depression and anxiety of dealing as who I am on Twitch with all the negativity that I received for something like Elix. I want to celebrate, being a partner, being a drag artist on Twitch, and the hard work that I've done. So it's not always what it seems. So I'm doing a whole entire digital one-woman show in February during Black History Month about that. So please look out for those, because the last one I did was phenomenal, and this one is 10 times great. Oh, my screen went out, so I'm just gonna sit here like that. Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you. Oh, and I'm the founder of Team Technicolor, which is a team for POC content creators and BIPOC individuals. So follow us, please. Thanks, Stream Queens. Bye.
Thank you, London. Bobby.
Hi everyone. So I'm Hi Bobby again. I really quick. I do a lot of charity stuff on the platform. I do mainly charity tournaments in regards to Apex Legends and esports that doesn't necessarily have a lot of queer representation within it. And so I try to highlight our community by doing these tournaments. And in February, I'm planning ahead already. It's ready to go. We're going to be raising money for charities that focus on healthcare for Black women. Specifically, one of the charities is I think it's Mama Toto's Village, which the reason why I'm doing this specific charity is because Black women, especially Black mothers, are more disproportionately, found to die from childbirth and pregnancy-related issues. So I wanted to make sure to find a charity and causes that really focused on that, because that is a major systemic issue in our country. So we'll be having a charity tournament in February for that. And then I also make candles, which are going to be coming out soon, called Streamer Series. So a lot of streaming themed candles, and it's something that I like to do for myself as a creative outlet. And those will be available on my coffee, as my coffee store at Hi Bobby. But yeah, find me on the platform here, and we can hang out and chat.
Buy a Bradshaw Bussy candle.
Yes. I actually have one of Bobby's candles, it's right here next to my TV.
Same.
I love them so much. They smell so good. Make sure you get them.
Thank you.
And I have been your moderator for today. My name is Marisol Lords. I'm a Latin drag non-binary streamer here on this platform. I'm a member of Team Stream Queens and a member of Team Technicolor. You can find me on all social platforms at Marisol Lords, MARISOL LORDS. And I hope you enjoyed this visibility panel, not only talking about our cultural upbringing, but definitely topics within the gaming community that we definitely needed to touch and share upon on. And with that being said, whenever Dola would like to take us off, you can take us off. Everybody wave goodbye. Thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye.